Hello, this is third attempt to make one silly tiny video. First time was the dog. Second time is because I finished the whole video pretty much, except for my quote-unquote outro, because I'm super professional and have an outro. And actually what happened was my alarm went off because I was boiling rice because my dog had an incident, so we're feeding him rice and raw chicken. Or not raw chicken, sorry, that would be gross. Rice and like unseasoned chicken. Anyways, good times. All that doesn't really matter. This is a short video about a book by Steven Pressfield. He is probably most well known for writing a book called The Legend of Badger Vance, which I haven't read at all. And this book is called The War of Art, which is not to be confused with The Art of War, which is by Sun Tzu. This is War of Art, which, fun fact, my wife was like, hey, that's confusing, and what is that? And so I explained a little bit, like, well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. And then after and I had just finished reading the book, and mind you, this is like a 3-hour book. This is super tiny, 2-3 hours. It's like a nothing burger of a book. It was funny when I was trying to find the book initially. There was like a little Cliff's Notes, which was like 30 minutes of the book, and I was left with like, okay. And then I found the actual book, and I was like, the whole book's 3 hours. Like, it's a tiny book. So this is a guy who's worked in the industry. He's failed lots, succeeded tremendously. Like, he has credentials, and he wrote this book, and I guess you could call it a get help book or a self-help book. I don't really, like, I'm reading one of those about habits, which is super awesome, and it's very much impinging on my life and really helping me understand kind of there's a way to get out of the hole that I've dug for myself. And then I'm reading this book, and I don't remember who referred it. It wasn't a friend, I don't believe. I think it was, reading or listening like Joe Rogan or something like that. And it's on my to-do list now. If somebody suggests a book, or if I'm reading or listening to something, to reference that in my notes of like, oh, hey, check out this book, so that if I do make a video, which I will, then I can reference it. So anyways, here's the nuts and bolts of it. This guy is effectively talking about, if you're a person or an artist or whatever, if you want to achieve something that improves you and your life, okay? Just improves, like in a positive direction towards what he perceives as like your goal, your ideal scene, what you should be doing, right? Because his theory is that like you're kind of put on this planet to do a certain thing. So if you're doing something that aligns with that, you're gonna run into obstacles. And those obstacles are gonna be put up by you. And it is this kind of outside, internalized outside barrier. Imagine it is effectively, it's self-sabotage. I like to think of us as like we're our own castle with our own army and our own resources. So imagine if you're like, I want to conquer this area, and then your horses don't have horseshoes and this, and suddenly conquering just becomes so much harder than it might normally happen, but from the inside. And in a weird way, that's kind of what he's talking about. Like the castle thing's my analogy. Maybe I should write a book. I would need to be successful, and I've also like kind of conquered my own castle, I think, to some extent. I don't feel like you'll ever conquer your own castle. I don't think you're ever really the master of your own castle, especially when you're married and when you have kids. And even if you weren't married and have kids, your castle is only going to be so big. You might have the best, most amazing castle and get outplayed by the simplest castle with a guy who's married and has kids and happiness. Just by sheer numbers, you'll lose. That's a whole separate thing. But anyhow, so, sorry, I went on a tangent. So, in general, I really, really like the book. It's 3 hours long audio. I don't know how many pages it is. It's short, it's sweet, it's awesome. He does a really good job. Well, you could call it a self-help book, because in many ways it is. It's also not that at all. It's this kind of very simple breakdown of like, look, guys, this is what I've done. Some of the mistakes I've made. I'm not the best, but like, these are things I ran into, and this is what I've seen time and time again, and this is how to like handle it. And it's awesome. He doesn't attack religion. He doesn't attack, praying or meditating or anything. Sometimes he even says he did that. And he even has this like interesting little situation when he goes and works. And one thing I kind of loved is like the concept, and he references someone else. And I feel like I've already read this book, and in reading it again, it was like getting re-inspired. It was almost the concept of like the definition of a classic, but not a classic in that sense, but it's like a different version. It's not a classic, it's just a truism. And a truism hits as good or better every time you read it, whereas a classic hits or is better every time you read it, but in a different way. It's like the more times you read it or consume it, the more you get out of it. Whereas I think just a truism is just a truism. So every time you properly consume a truism, a truth, a thing about like a way to operate in life that is just universally true, to the extent that you actually receive it, it hits you the same way regardless. It's like having mom's favorite dish or your favorite dish from mom, and you're just like, need a time, this is the best dish ever, right? And that is kind of just a truism. As a weird analogy to use, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So I highly suggest this book. Stephen Pressfield, the guy who wrote Legend of Badger Vance, which then later became a really good movie, which I have not read the book. It's on my to-do list, but I have watched the movie a while back. So honestly, I was like 3/4 of the way book, and it's like, yeah, and then I wrote this book, and yeah. After all these failures, it took me like 20 years to finally write this other book that was successful, and I'm just like, wow, okay, nice. That's total disconnect from that book that you wrote that I know about, I know the title, to the book that I'm currently listening to is They're Worlds Apart, which is just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's like, I don't know, if Elon Musk is like, hey, yeah, I just wrote a book about how we should repopulate the world, and you're like, although that kind of clicks, but I don't know, just if Elon Musk wrote a book about, hey, the importance of everyone having 3 children, and that's what it was, and it was 2 hours long, and it was just a breakdown of like why it's important to have at least 3 children, and you're like, I should have more children. Okay. Anyhow, love you all. Plaid Man out. I just need to do a book ramble, and check it out. Talk to you later. Bye.